Hey there, dirt bike people. I'm Chuck from TrueTech, and today I'm going to talk about whether or not I think you should buy a TM motorcycle. Prior to this, I have never so much as swung a leg over a TM. I've seen them here and there at the track, but never paid much attention and didn't consider them a real option. I haven't had this bike for very long, but while it's been here, I have had the opportunity to assemble it out of the crate, ride it, let everyone else ride it, seize it, and rebuild it, and then ride it a bunch more. I've gotten to know this bike well enough that I know what I think of the build quality, the performance, and who specifically it's built for. First of all, I was immediately impressed while I was uncrating it. Everything was nicely packaged, and it was obvious that a lot of care gets put into designing and building this machine. When you work on bikes a lot, you learn that every bike has parts that are difficult to remove or install or adjust or are just in some way quirky. After having almost every component off and on this bike, I haven't found which part that is. I'm very impressed with the build quality. After spending a fair bit of time on the bike myself and also having a bunch of different friends ride it, there are several characteristics that definitely stand out. Number one, the engine has weak low-end power, but otherwise it's a rocket ship. It wants to be revved and ridden aggressively. With a bit of clutch work, the weaker bottom end power becomes a non-issue, and the engine is definitely suited for going fast. It doesn't like transit sections and guzzles fuel whether you're riding hard or not. Expert riders enjoyed the engine a lot and felt that the weaker bottom end power was not really an issue. For those that want to change the power characteristics, there are aftermarket maps and heads available, as well as skid plates, rad guards, and fan kits. Number two, the bike handles very well in both technical terrain and flowy trails. It's very easy to change directions, but it's also very stable at speed and over chop. It might be the best chassis I've ever ridden, and everyone else that rode the bike agreed that it handled very nicely. Number three, the suspension threads the needle between plush and poised. It definitely suits more aggressive riders better. It stays up in the stroke, and it eats trail trash at the same time. It's a very nice setup. Now let's dive into the obvious issue at hand here. If you've been following along, you know that at 5.2 hours, the engine seized. It happened very quickly, and besides the failed crank bearing, there was no damage. Obviously, no one wants to have a bottom end failure on a brand new bike, but let's break this down a bit. Whenever you add horsepower, you reduce reliability. There are ways to mitigate this, but generally, it is the case. High-performance engines require more maintenance and tend to fail more frequently. This is not unique to TM. That being said, the failure I experienced on this TM was not due to the high-performance characteristics of the engine, but instead a manufacturer defect. There are several different opinions on what the cause of the issue is, but the factory has already addressed the issue, so it shouldn't be an issue going forward. Still, since this bike is designed to be ridden aggressively, you should expect to spend more time and money on maintenance than on a more common model. The initial cost is also more than a common brand, and so are the parts. The bottom line is that this bike will cost you more to own. Now, what about support? What is parts availability like? What about warranty? Does the factory respond when there's an issue? The key to all of these questions is not so much TM as a manufacturer, but the distributor and the dealer network. No motorcycle manufacturer has time to answer end user queries. It's the dealer's job to supply riders with support. If there is something out of the ordinary, the dealer consults with the distributor. The factory talks with the distributor. If one of these links is missing, the support will suffer. The advantage with bigger brands like KTM is that they own their own distribution in each country, and it will therefore never change hands. The disadvantage, of course, is that a big company like KTM doesn't seem to care too much about what happens to each individual bike. Maybe that's fair, maybe it's not. The advantage with a small manufacturer like TM is that there is a really good chance that everyone involved in getting support directly to riders is very likely an enthusiast who cares about what happens. That has certainly been my experience here in Canada. The distributor is a dirt bike enthusiast, and he understands what riders want. He's also financially motivated because if he doesn't offer good support, the word will get around really quickly, and TM owners in Canada also have the distinct advantage of being able to email the distributor directly if they aren't happy with their dealer. That is a really big advantage. So at this point, we've gone over the performance and build quality, the cost of ownership, and the support network. These are major factors that will dictate whether this bike is right for you. If you're someone who likes their dirt bike situation simple and as low maintenance as possible, this bike is not for you. If you're a person who wants a unique bike that performs really well, even if you need to spend more to get it, the TM may be right for you. Before my apprenticeship began, I remember coming home from work and looking forward to working on my bike every bit as much as riding it. If that's you, then the TM should be a contender. Not because it needs much more attention, but because you're likely the kind of person who will appreciate what TM has built, and it will be a more enjoyable motorcycle for you to own. The second type of person that should own a TM would be an aggressive racer. This is not a cheap endeavor, but the TM is an excellent platform to win on. This also comes back to what I said about the performance to reliability spectrum. This is a high performance machine and it requires meticulous maintenance. If you try to get high performance and expect low maintenance, you will not be doing a lot of winning. If you're racing a TM, you either need to have a really close relationship with your dealer or you need to have a good stock of parts so that you can take care of whatever you break. This isn't really unique to TM. TM Canada actually has an excellent inventory, but I think people usually forget that if you're riding aggressively, you're going to chew through parts. It's also worth noting that brands like TM, Beta, and Sherco build most of their models on a single platform. What that means for dealers is that the parts they stock will likely fit every model. If you've got a KTM, your dealer needs to supply parts for the dirt bike lineup as well as a whole variety of street bikes and adventure bikes. This actually means that it's much easier for TM dealers to keep a good variety of parts in stock. Overall, my experience with this TM has provided me with a bunch of new information and a new respect for another legitimate option in the industry. This TM is not for everyone, but it is definitely an excellent option for more people than currently own them. If you're interested in getting more information about TM, you should find out, first of all, where your closest dealer is, and of course, you're going to do a bunch of Googling. Google often gives you biased results, but there is a strong TM community out there, and like any boutique brand, they're looking for more recruits and will gladly help you along the way.